Let's talk about water. In 2016, I returned to the Appalachian Trail in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, where I'd finished my section hike the previous year. I flew to Albany, stayed with a friend, and got a ride to the trail. The first day I had a short hike to the shelter where I had a really interesting conversation with a young woman about what could take you off trail. After discussing the different things that could be problematic for hikers, we decided without a doubt that the thing that would take you off trail more quickly and more reliably than anything else is a lack of water. Little did I know that the very next day I would have that issue. The next day I took off from the shelter with 2 liters of water. It was hot and humid, but I felt fairly confident. I had gone through about 1 liter of water after hiking 4 miles. I ran into a northbound hiker who asked me where the next water was, and I explained to him that there was a stream down the hill from the shelter that I had left that morning. I asked him where the next water was going southbound, and he replied, "I didn't see any." That made me very concerned. I knew then that the liter I had left had to last me more than 11 miles to beyond the next shelter where there was a somewhat reliable water source. Shortly thereafter, I fell and broke one of my trekking poles, and I also came down with diarrhea. That was the icing on the cake. I knew it was not going to be a time for me to hike. When I got to the next road crossing, I got a ride into town and headed off trail. I had learned my lesson. Water is so important when you hike. You have to have it to be on trail. A lack of water, and you're not going anywhere. Let's talk about finding water, carrying water, and purifying water. When I started section hiking in 2015, my brother-in-law and I set off from Bear's Den in Northern Virginia. It was pouring rain at the time. We complained bitterly about hiking along the flooded trail, but little did I realize that we were really fortunate to have rain and have water on the trail. For that entire hike, water was never a problem. Water sources are usually at stream crossings, or if you're lucky, there's a spring nearby. Finding them is usually pretty easy. There's lots of word of mouth among hikers about where the next water source is and how reliable it is. And also references such as the Far Out app will show you where water sources are located. So here's my collection of water containers that I've accumulated over the years of backpacking. It includes an Nalgene bottle, several smart water type bottles, some collapsible bottles, and some Hydropack bottles. These all work fine, and we'll talk a little bit about them in just a second. Let's weigh some of these things and see how they do. First, I have here the Nalgene bottle. Put that on the scale, and it weighs, wow, over 180 grams. That's really high. Next, I have my smart water bottle. This is the sparkling one. That's a little more sturdy than a regular one, and it weighs 47 grams. That's not too bad. That's just a little bit over an ounce. Here's my collapsible vapor 1 liter bottle. Put it on the scale, and it comes in at just over 43 grams. That's a little bit less than the smart water bottle. That's pretty good. I also have this Ultrasil bucket that I like to carry wash water in, and it's only 23.7 grams. And finally, I have my Seeker 3 liter container, and it weighs in at 50 grams. That's fantastic for something that carries that much water. In addition to carrying your water, you're going to need a water scoop. Sometimes the water sources are shallow and you need to scoop the water out. I cut off the bottom of a water bottle, and I also have a platypus container that I cut the top off that I can use. So why do you want to treat your water? Well, it's so you don't get sick. Treating water will get rid of bacteria and parasites and sometimes viruses in the water. When you treat your water, there are basically 2 pathogens that you need to worry about. The first of these is Giardia. Giardia is a microscopic parasite that, when it gets into the gut, multiplies and causes a watery diarrhea. Symptoms usually take several days to develop after you ingest the cysts, and the watery diarrhea will last a week or two. It's no fun and can lead to dehydration. It's fairly common, and when it's there, it needs to be treated with antibiotics. The second pathogen to worry about is norovirus. Norovirus is the same virus that causes outbreaks of gastroenteritis on cruise ships. It can raise havoc when it runs through a group of people. Norovirus is problematic in large groups that tend to congregate together. This happens very frequently on the Appalachian Trail at shelters and in hostels. Norovirus treatment is all symptomatic, and the best treatment is really prevention. Good hand washing and good toilet hygiene are really, really important. So there are 3 ways to purify water. You can filter your water, you can treat it chemically, or you can treat it physically. We'll talk about all 3 of those. Water filters are typically made of microtubule membranes with a 0.1 micron filter size. This size will remove bacteria and parasites from the water. It does not, however, remove viruses. The most common filter used on the Appalachian Trail is the Sawyer Squeeze. The Sawyer Squeeze is reliable, usually maintains high flow rates, and has a long lifespan. This right here is my Sawyer Squeeze, and what gets attached to a dirty water bottle. This is the water bottle that comes with the Sawyer Squeeze. It had a reputation for rupturing, but the newer versions of this bottle do a little bit better. What you do is you attach the Sawyer Squeeze to the water bottle, and then after it's filled with water, you squeeze it and water goes through the filter. Many thru hikers will simply leave their Sawyer Squeeze attached to their smart water bottle. This works very well and is very convenient. The other water filter that's been gaining popularity recently is the Katadyn B-Free filter. This filter is really lightweight, but it has a larger attachment size, so you need either the Katadyn 1 liter squeeze bottle that comes with the filter or some other water container that has a larger opening. This is my Katadyn B-Free here, and I actually attach it to my Seeker water bottle. So here's my Seeker bottle, and the Katadyn B-Free attaches right there, and with that I can filter 3 liters of water at a time. That's really convenient. The trick to keeping all these water filters working well is to make sure they're back flushed frequently. The Sawyer Squeeze comes with a syringe to do that with, but you don't even really have to bring the syringe. A smart water bottle with a flip cap on it will fit on the end of the Sawyer Squeeze, and here's mine right here. So here's the Sawyer Squeeze, and the bottle fits on the top, and then you can back flush this very easily. Some people are very religious about back flushing and will do it daily, others only every several days. The B-Free is really easy to back flush. All you really have to do is take the filter and stick it down into a water container and swish it around, and that will clean the microtubules inside here. There are many other filters that are available commercially. I do not recommend any of them. I've seen many people use other filters. I've tried other filters. None of them maintain flow rates that are acceptable for a long section hike or through hike. The only exception to this is the Platypus gravity system, which is fairly large and only worthwhile if you're not hiking alone. Here's my friend Broken Feather, who hiked with me through Shenandoah National Park in 2015 with his gravity system. The second way to purify water is by chemically treating it. The tried and true method to treat water chemically is with iodine tablets. Personally, I don't like iodine tablets. They turn the water kind of a yellow-brown color and they taste pretty awful. A better option is what's available today. That is chlorine dioxide. Chlorine dioxide is actually a gas that dissolves readily in water, and it's used by most municipalities to sanitize their water supply. Chlorine dioxide kills bacteria, it kills protozoa, and it also kills viruses. That's an added bonus. The way to use chlorine dioxide is to bring chemicals with you to generate the gas dissolved in liquid on site. This right here is my Aquamira. Aquamira is a two-part solution which can generate chlorine dioxide. Part A contains a 2% solution of sodium chlorite, a stabilized form of chlorine dioxide, and Part B contains phosphoric acid. When the weak solution of phosphoric acid is added to the sodium chloride, it generates chlorine dioxide. There's a little bit of water, salt, and sodium phosphate as byproducts, but they dissolve in the water and are no problem at all. Once the two parts are mixed together and you let them sit for 5 minutes to form the gas, the liquid can be poured into your water, and after 15 minutes, you have purified water. The final way to purify your water is by physically treating it. The old-fashioned way to do this is by boiling water. Boiling water takes a lot of energy, and it's difficult to boil large volumes of water that you need when you backpack. It can always be done as a last resort though. Water should be boiled for 1 minute, and if you're at a higher altitude, that should be extended to several minutes in order to remove bacteria, virus, and protozoa. The modern alternative is to use ultraviolet light to treat your water. This right here is my SteriPen. The SteriPen is an ultraviolet device that's used to purify water. The SteriPen is placed in the water and stirred around for 90 seconds to purify 1 liter of water. The ultraviolet light denatures the DNA in viruses, protozoa, and bacteria, so that makes it very, very useful. Here's my SteriPen here with a container of water. I've got a platypus container with a top cut off. And what you do is you take your container and you push the button on your SteriPen here, and it lights up and gives you a time once you put it in there, and you stir it around for 90 seconds. And after 90 seconds, you get a little happy face that tells you your water is purified. I've used my SteriPen on several short hikes and found it to be extremely convenient. The only issue I had is that it's kind of hard to imagine that just waving this magic wand around in the water purifies it, but it really does do a great job at removing all the pathogens from the water. So the method you use to purify your water and how you carry your water is really up to you. All of these that I've outlined will work very, very well. If you want to be a traditional thru hiker who plans on doing lots and lots of miles and has a reliable way to purify their water, probably the best thing to do would be to bring a Sawyer Squeeze or a Katadyn B-Free. If you want to be an ultralight hiker and carry the smallest amount of weight possible in order to purify your water, I would recommend bringing Aquamira. The only real disadvantage to Aquamira is you have to wait for the water to be purified. And finally, if you want convenience, bring a SteriPen. For my upcoming section hike beginning in March, I've decided to bring my SteriPen, and I've got a couple smaller vials to put some Aquamira in as a backup. So I hope you found this useful, and it will help you decide how to handle your water purification on your section hike or thru hike. I'm looking forward to meeting you in March when I start my section hike at Springer Mountain.